review 5 bishop g5 knight f6. So here we have Trompowsky attack. This is not a very common opening in Queen's opening, but I still see some players will choose this one. And so white chose to trade the bishop at a very early stage. This is what I'm not recommending, but the reason why doing so is white can later on set up a very solid pawn structure at the center with this dark square bishop, dark square pawns, without blocking the dark square bishop. And on the other hand, the trading also makes a double pawn. So this is a typical weakness regarding to pawn structure. So the next step for black is how to utilize the pair bishop, and for white is how to utilize the advantage at the pawn structure. So I play e3, c5, c3. Yeah, this is what I said. So white has solid center. Knight c6, bishop d3, c4. Well, I feel like maybe we can play like g6, bishop g7, f5 to make the bishop at g7. This is very good for our defense at the king side. And since we have pair bishop, so when we have one more bishop than our opponent, it's usually not a good choice to close the game if we don't have a reason. Because once the game is very close, it only favors knights instead of bishops. So bishop c2, bishop e6. This is what I'm talking about. So light square bishop is blocked by its own pawn. So this is not good for the expansion of the light square bishop. You can see a lot of black pawns are placed at white squares. Queen b6, attack the pawn, queen back to c7. So I feel like this two moves is a bit wasting, because after rook divide to b1 would make the queen to c7. So I would recommend moving the queen to c7 at the first place. g5. So black really wants to attack the king side. This is exciting. h5, e4. So yeah, so this is how white would attack or fight back at the center, especially when our king is not castled. So yeah, castling is good, make our king safe. Exchange, bishop d5, we have pair bishop, very strong, aiming at the king, this is good. But at the same time, we need to be aware how white will attack our queen side. So, and also if I play white, I will move bishop to e4 to offer a bishop trade, because if the light square bishop is gone, the c4 pawn became handy. So this is how we usually attack pieces. We can trade the defender, which makes the piece like weaker. b3. Okay, is this if we take the pawn and then play knight e7, we attack the bishop, and also we can win the pawn. I think b3 is problematic. So we can take the pawn and then knight e7. I am pretty sure we can win the c3 pawn. h4, take, yeah, bishop back, so we lose the pawn in this case. We play h4. This is not good. And also after losing the pawn, the b file is open. This is not good for our king safety. Trade c5, yeah. So the c pawn is really annoying, forcing our bishop away from a very good position. Now the bishop being like passive, and the white has a really strong pawn, and knight c4 to attack our king. e5, we're fighting back at center, queen c4. This is probably not good, so I feel like, can we just push pawn to d5 and then d6? I think white is going to win the pawn or win the pieces. This is a forking. Queen c4, g4, knight back. Yeah, so we can win the d4 pawn. Now black is battered. And can we move the knight to d4? This is a brilliant move, even though it's hard to find. Knight takes, we can take the pawn, and the knight is pinned. Knight to b3, we can still take the bishop, because that's a check, and then we can win the queen. This is discovered attack. Yeah, so there's some tactic we can utilize. Even though we don't play knight d4, we can also move queen to e5, attack the c5 to activate our dark-square bishop, because this diagonal is really weak, and our opponent doesn't have dark-square bishop. So if we can place our bishop, it's not only about winning a pawn. It's more about activating our bishop to a very, very powerful diagonal. Yeah. So we move knight to e4. Yeah, this is also good because we opened up the c file. We want to attack c5. Rook b5. Can't we just play a6? The rook is protecting the pawn. So it's very straightforward. We kick the rook away. We can, yeah. If the rook moves to a5, we can move the rook to d3 and we will win material. We are attacking this two and attacking the rook. If the queen moves to b3, b4, we can move knight to c4, c6, that's a fork. Right? We will meet material. So I think it's a time worth spending a couple of minutes. Now we have 20 minutes on the clock. And we just spent less than 1 minute. Take the rook. I don't think it gives us anything. Knight f3. I mean, it's a fork, but the rook can also take your knight because we sacrifice the rook, and it totally makes sense why it can sacrifice its own rook. Or maybe knight c5 is maybe it's even better than knight. Bishop c5 is better than knight f3. If the king goes g2, we can double attack and win the rook. Knight f3, take. Bishop queen to c6. We can still play a6, right? And then rook to h5, attack the c5. Rook to c8 is a bit passive. Rook to h5 is active. We can attack the pawn, and the most important thing is we put the rook in front of the, or we don't. If we move rook to c8, we put the queen in front of the rook. But if we move rook to here, we can take the pawn with the rook first. And also the rook can still target h2. So I think rook h4 is better. But also I'm still thinking a6 is a very simple move to make your opponent at the very worst position. And how about f2? This is something we can consider. If the king takes, we can take the pawn and the rook attacks the king. That's pretty annoying for the defender. Take the knight and win the rook, and black is winning. So rook c8. Yeah, so in this case, I think it's much better than previously for white, because the white has the queen at f3 to protect the light square. And I don't think trading the queen is a good choice, because the white king is way exposed than our king, so it favors black to leave the queen for both sides on the board. We have more chances to attack the king than our opponent attack our king. So I don't think that's a good choice to trade the queens, even though white pieces are targeted at b7. But I mean, we can simply play bishop b6 to block the rook and attack the knight. And also remember, we have a rook to attack the second rank. So the white king is quite exposed. Thinking about this diagonal, this file. So the white king is quite exposed. It's better to remain the queens. So now we turn the game into endgame. Well, I don't think trading the bishop with the knight is a smart choice because it's an open game. It's an open position, which means bishop is way better than a knight. But I know knight a6 looks unstoppable if white insists to trade the bishop. Queen c8. Why don't we move queen c7? Okay, so now our king is at the passive position, and the point is, even though we have the same number of pawns, white has a passed pawn, and the king can protect the pawn and support the pawn moving further, and we will lose the f5 pawn. So white is definitely better, and yes, and this is a forcing trade. So we'll lose. We'll definitely lose in this game. White king is able to catch up with our pawn. So the king is, and the white has double pawn, connected pawns. So our king will be stuck at the king side forever because of connected pawn, and white is definitely better. So if we go back to this position, yeah, I think we can move the king like way up. At least we don't need to lose the f5 pawn, right? And look here, I mean white is still better because of the passed pawn, but we don't need to lose the f5. Yeah, so or maybe f4 to force the pawn getting traded. I mean, yeah, the pawn is really good. The h5 pawn is really good. I think the critical point is offering a pawn queen trade. So if we don't trade the queens, I think black is better than white. But after trading the queens, white is better simply because of the passed pawn. That's it.